Okay, for problem number 2, we have a compound gear train that is composed of 4 gears, A, B, C, and D. Gear A has 10 teeth and is meshed with gear B, which has 20 teeth. So A is meshed with B. Gear C has 16 teeth. So I've got gear C on top of B is meshed with G to make a compound gear train. So we know C has 16 teeth and is meshed with D, and D is my output gear. If D is my output, that makes A my input. I also know that the power supplied at A has 100 foot-pounds. So 100 foot-pounds of torque for gear A. I'm going to record that in my table. And I know A is also traveling at 1,600 rotations per minute. And I'm going to put my units over here just so I can save some space. Okay. So this is all the information I've got so far. So I'm missing some things that I need to fill in. So I'm going to keep reading to make sure I can fill everything in. So part A says the necessary torque output of the system is 500 foot-pounds. So we know D is my output. So I'm going to look and put 500 foot-pounds here. So I need to find my gear ratio. I've got the input and output of the torque, so I'm going to use my gear ratio torque formula, torque out over torque in, to get the gear ratio of this compound gear train. So I'm going to find my gear ratio is torque out, which is 500, divided by torque in, which is 100. 500 divided by 100 is 5, so my gear ratio is 5:1. Now I can use this information to fill in my missing parts of D, because this is the gear ratio for the total gear train. So part B says with the system torque of 500 foot-pounds, how many teeth am I solving for? So I need to use an equation that uses number of teeth. So I'm going to use my gear ratio formula for compound gears that uses the number of teeth, which is B over A times D over C. And this is on page 6 of your formula sheet if you're looking for it. So once I've got my formula, I'm going to plug in the numbers I know. So I know my gear ratio is 5 equals, I know B has 20 teeth, A has 10 teeth, D we don't know, and C has 16. So now I need to combine some terms and get D so that it's by itself. So since these two are being multiplied, I'm going to combine my numerators to get 20D over, combine my denominators, so 10 times 16 is 160, equals 5. So now I need to move this 160, and since I'm dividing it, I need to multiply it so that 160 cancels 160. And I'm left with 800 equals 20D. Then I need to get D by itself. So I'm going, since I'm multiplying these, opposite multiplies divide, so I divide both sides by 20. 800 divided by 20 is 40. 40 equals the number of teeth for D. And lastly, part C is asking me to find how fast is D rotating. So my gear ratio formula for speed is in over out. Plug in what I know. I know gear ratio is 5. I know my speed in is 1,600, and I don't know my speed out. I can't have my variable on the bottom, so I have to flip it. And to get speed out by itself, I multiply both sides by 1,600. So 1,600 times 1/5 equals 30 rotations per minute.